Hello students, today I am going to cover the important topic entitled Indo-Chinese Relation, Confrontation and Reconciliation. As you know that this is a very important topic for the purposes of competitive examinations and for also those persons who are interested in international affairs, Indo-China affairs. So, I have chosen this topic because this Indo-China disputes or relation is being published continuously in the Hindu newspaper. So, I thought it prudent to take this topic and discuss its ramification. So my lesson plan for this topic will be number 1, why it is in news, number 1, introduction, number 3, a comparison of India and China, number 4, confrontation, what are the elements of confrontations, number 5, what are the elements of reconciliation, efforts of India, the way forward and solution, and finally the conclusion. So students, I think this topic will very much give you interest and hope you will cherish this lecture. So if you like this lecture, please share and subscribe and tell your friends that this is a free channel. Just type AJIS Academy on YouTube and subscribe, open the playlist and you will find lots of videos covering different topics related to history, geography, political science, economics, general mathematics, general science. All are relevant for competitive examinations. So students, now let us start the proceedings. Why is it in news? Number 1, China recently renamed 15 places in Arunachal Pradesh. It had renamed 6 places in 2017 after the visit of Dalai Lama to Tawang. Number 2, earlier it has come to the notice that China is building bridge over Pangong Tso Lake within its jurisdiction to make it strategically important, thereby reducing the time taken from north to south in just 2 to 3 hours instead of 12 hours. Earlier, Chinese and Indian forces fought at Galwan Valley, causing loss of 20 Indian army men and more than 40 unspecified number of Chinese soldiers. As you know, on 15th June 2020, the Indian army and Chinese army have a scuffle, and in the process 20 Indian soldiers were killed, and so more than 40 Chinese soldiers were also killed, although China never published the number of casualties before the world, but according to an estimate, more than 40 Chinese soldiers were also killed in the scuffle. So next, now I take up introduction. A student, as you know, that India adopted a policy of friendship towards China from the very beginning. Earlier, Chiang Kai-shek was the president of China, but the communists under Mao Zedong defeated him. The Kuomintang party was defeated and it fled away to Formosa. Now it is called Taiwan. The mainland China was captured by the Communist Party headed by Mao Zedong in 1949. So, student, India, right from the beginning, it recognized China. It gave recognition in 1950. During the British period, the Congress Party always supported the cause of Chinese. When Japan captured Manchuria, one province of China, it very much boycotted the Japanese goods and lodged a protest. A call was given for the protest of Japanese goods. In protest against the Japanese imperialism. Now, Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India, pressed for the representation of Communist China in the event in the Security Council. Student, as you know, that after the defeat of Kuomintang Party under the leadership of Chiang Kai-shek and the victory of Communist Party on the mainland China, the USA did not recognize it. So, the permanent membership of the Security Council went to Taiwan, Formosa, under Kuomintang Party. But the first Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru, always pressed and insisted upon Security Council and the UN that the real representative of China is Communist China, not the breakaway group led by Kuomintang Party in Taiwan, a small island of China. So, even Congress Party did not support Korean War, did not support the US position in Korean War, to the very much disappointment of the then US government. And in when the Tibet was annexed by Communist China in 1950, India signed a treaty in 1954 and gave recognition of the annexation of Communist China over Tibet. India and China declared a policy of Panchsheel, the 5 elements of the foreign policy to be governed between two countries, and this policy included 1. Recognition of territorial integrity and sovereignty, number 1. Number 2, non-interference in the internal affairs. Number 3, non-aggression. Number 4, equality and mutual benefit. And number 5, peaceful coexistence. Student, as you know, what does this peaceful coexistence stand for? It means that the political system, economic system may be different between two countries. The culture may be different, but even the differences can be sorted out in the largest interest of humanity. So both India and China treaded the path of peaceful coexistence. China became communist. India was a democracy, and still it is democracy. its culture, its political system, its economic system is quite different that of China. But in spite of the differences, both the countries resolved to start the process of peaceful coexistence for the furtherance of development in Asia in particular and the world in general. A big revolt took place in 1959 and Dalai Lama fled away from Tibet and took asylum in India. Now, Chinese killed 5 Indian police who were patrolling in Ladakh area, and many more policemen were taken captive. So the relation between two countries became very much bitter. Now, henceforth, the relation between two countries became sour, and this resulted into 1962 Sino-Indian War, in which India was defeated decisively. But when Jawaharlal Nehru asked for assistance from the US and Britain, the next day the Chinese troops withdrew unilaterally. And so, even in 1967, there were escapades, fight at Nathula Pass, Chola sectors, and Indian forces decisively defeated them. More than 400 Chinese troops were killed in this fight. Now, a comparison of India and China. I am here to give you a comparison between India and China so that your concept will be clear. The picture will be clear in your mind. So, what is the area is for India, but 32,87,263. For China, it is 95,96,960. So what you see? China is almost 3 times greater than that of India as far as area is concerned. But what we see, that only 10% of Chinese land are arable land, while in our case in India more than 35% of this one land can be cultivated, are arable land. This means that in terms of area, as far as the cultivable lands are concerned, both China and India have equal acreage. So, as a population, you see that the population is 1387297,452. 138 billion, and the population of China is 143 billion. So the population is now doesn't matter. The population of both countries has become more or less same. Why? Earlier, 50 years back, the difference in population was too much wide. But from 2001 onwards, China adopted the policy of one-child norm, and so its population reduced drastically. Now, China has again reversed its policy of one-child norm, and now 2 children can be born by a parent. So population growth rate, what you see that at present 1.25% for India and 0.44% for China. Similarly, life expectancy 69 years for India and 75 years for China. Next. Expenditure on education and health data is for 2015 to 16. For India, it is 5.1% of GDP. For China, it is 7.2% of GDP. Labor force, according to 2012, agriculture 49% for India, 33.6% for China, industry 20% for India, 30.3% for China, services 31% for India, 36% for China. Unemployment rate 24%. This is the data for 2020, and unemployment rate is 24% for India and only 4.3% for China. Next. What is the GDP composition of both the countries? So agriculture, India 15.87%, China 9.7%, industries, India 19.73%, China 43.9%, services 54.40% for India, 46.4% for China. Defense budget 70 billion 2020 for India, $70 billion American dollar, and $178 billion for China. So what we see that the budget allocation as far as the defense expenditure is concerned, it is 3 times larger than that of India. About the GDP composition, what we perceive, the difference is that China has become the manufacturing hub, and that's why what you see that in the contribution of industry in the GDP composition is 43.9%, almost 44%. Now for India, it is only 19.73, almost 20%. So the gap is very much as far as the industry or manufacture sector is concerned. Similarly, the pressure on agriculture was also very much lower down in China, and now only 9.7% is the contribution of agriculture in the total composition of GDP. So what we see that China is very much going ahead from developing country to developed country, because even in the developed country what we find that the composition of GDP and the contribution of agriculture is on not more than 2 to 3%, 4%. Now the contribution of agriculture in Chinese economy is 9.7%, and this burden is now reducing day by day. What we perceive that the contribution of industries and manufacturing sectors are increasing with the passage of time. So next. Now I go for next heading, that is confrontation. What are the areas that are the main reason for confrontation? Number 1, relation between contemporary China and India have been characterized by border disputes, resulting in 4 military conflicts. Sino-Indian War 1962, I have already told you. Border clashes at Nathula and Chola passes in Sikkim in 1967, in which Chinese forces were badly mauled, leading to 450 deaths of Chinese troops. In 1987, Sumdorong Chu standoff between India and China in Arunachal Pradesh took place where Chinese forces were very much repulsed by Indian army. In Galwan Valley, in last year, 15th June 2020, what we see that the Chinese soldiers and Indian soldiers fought with one another, leading to the killing of 20 Indian soldiers and 40 Chinese soldiers. Although the Chinese government never declared the number of deaths of Chinese soldiers, but according to one estimate, Chinese soldiers also incurred heavy losses in the scuffle at Galwan Valley. Now, what we see, India faces trade imbalance heavily in favor of China, and I will discuss about it. Both countries failed to resolve their border dispute. And why they are failing? Student, because of the differing perception. What is perception? During the British period, the Britishers drew the line that is called McMahon line between India and China, which go through Himalayan region. As you know, it is a very difficult task to demarcate the boundary on Himalayan region because of the undulating land, because of the high altitude, because of the dense forest. So it is very difficult to demarcate. However, the Britishers drew the McMahon line, and it is important to note that the Tibetan government, which was almost independent at that time, before 1947, before the arrival of communists in China, they accepted McMahon line. But once communist government took over mainland China, the problem started cropping up. Why? Because they did not accept McMahon line drawn by Britishers, and this is the root cause of the discord between two countries, India and China. Secondly, the perception of China and India is quite different as far as the global politics is concerned. China wants hegemonistic control over Asia and want to become the second superpower after the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1990. So, what we see that India wants a dominating position. If Indian Ocean as a free zone, a dominating position in Asia, an eminent power in South Asia and Southeast Asia. Because of its military power, because of the vast size of its economy, because of the large population and area, up to 1600 AD or 1700 AD, Indian economy was #1 economy of the world, contributing 24% of the GDP of the world. Now, India wants to retrieve its preeminent position in the Committee of Nations. So, there is a differing perception between China and India. Both civilizations are the oldest civilization. The economy of both countries up to 1700 AD constitute half of the GDP of the world. So, there is a difference of perception between China and India, and this is the root cause of the problem between two countries. Most of the scholars opine that Indo-Chinese war in 1962 was only to humiliate India by China, because the influence of India under Jawaharlal Nehru was increasing by leaps and bounds among the Afro-Asian nations. Jawaharlal Nehru introduced the Chinese Premier Chow Enlai in Bandung Sammelan Conference in Indonesia in 1954. So students, what you see, that the 1962 war was just to downgrade the increasing influence of India and the rising personality of Jawaharlal Nehru in the world affairs. Another important point of confrontation or discord is that there is lurking danger of India-China axis. Pakistan has become a strategic partner of China. China has been doling out Pakistan and retrieving its economy by sanctioning huge amount of loan to Pakistan government. In addition, China-Pakistan economic corridor, which passes through the disputed area of Jammu and Kashmir and then go to Arabian Sea, has become a big investment for Pakistan, about 75 billion American dollar. So what we see, that India objected to this CPEC. Why? Because it runs through the disputed area of Jammu and Kashmir, which Pakistan had captured in 1948. So next point of irritant between India and China relation is the funding by China to the different terrorist groups which are operating in northeastern states. And so Indian government think that it is an act of destabilization. Although government of India has very much succeeded in controlling the terrorist activities in the last 50 years, still there are certain terrorist groups which are operating on either side of the border of Myanmar and northeastern states. So what we see then, Chinese interference in Doklam. Doklam is situated at the Chicken Neck, and it is a narrow passage of 23 kilometers which connect the mainland India to northeastern state. And so it was very much objected by Indian government, and so after so many rounds of talks, this discord or dispute on Doklam was very much settled down. The deepening mistrust between the two countries lies in their perception and expectation of each other in the larger context of global relation, and I have already narrated about it. Both are civilizational power. As you see that they are the oldest civilization of the world. Both civilizations have continuity. This cannot be found in other in matters of other civilization. So, desire of China to become hegemonistic power in Asia and second superpower after the dissolution of Soviet Union, and that's why China has started the one belt. What is, it is to connect, it passes through parts, one belt and one road initiative. One belt and one road initiative to connect 65 countries at the cost of $5 trillion. This is the mega project of China to revive the old Silk Route. So, this project, India objects to this initiative because it thinks that this one belt, one road initiative started by China will ultimately result into a debt trap of the country through which this road will pass through. Because since lot of investment is needed and most of the countries are poor countries, they will be under the debt trap, like Sri Lanka, where Sri Lanka could not return the loans taken from China and then it has to surrender Hambantota Island to China. So, similar situation have occurred in most of the African countries where China invested lot of money and then demanded those money back, and African countries were not in a position to repay, and ultimately they had to surrender certain portion of their land to China, where China develops ports and airstrips. So this has become a part of the Chinese policy to bring the development countries in under debt trap. India objects this design of Chinese hegemonistic behavior. Chinese also object to India's design of alliance with Vietnam, Japan, a good rapport with Taiwan, and partnership of Quad. Students, as you know, that Quad consists of 4 countries: the USA, Australia, Japan, India, and the formation of Quad is meant to reduce the Chinese influence in Pacific region, and the partnership of India with USA, Australia in the formation of Quad is very much being repudiated or criticized by Chinese government. What are the points of reconciliation? Student, as you know, I have already told you that since the beginning of communist government in China, India always supported it through thick and thin. It always supported to have a permanent membership in the Security Council against the wishes of the USA. Both countries started the bilateral relationship. India was the first non-socialist country to recognize communist China. India acquiesced to the annexation of Tibet by communist China. Indian Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru introduced Chinese Premier Zhou Enlai at Bandung Sammelan at Indonesia in 1954, and they declared Panchsheel doctrine, and I have discussed it in detail. So in spite of all these reconciliatory postures by Indian government, India and China have not so much very good relation as far as the border disputes are concerned, or at the political level the relation has been just ups and downs. So in 1988 what we see, the visit of Rajiv Gandhi normalize relation with China, and before the Galwan incident not a single fight took place between two countries on border, and this was the biggest achievement. So in 1988 India-China joint working group on the boundary question was formed. In 1991 memoranda on the resumption of border trade. In 1993 border peace and tranquility agreement was signed. In 2005 agreement on the political parameters and guiding principle for the settlement of India-China boundary questions. In 2013 border defense cooperation agreement was signed. In 2014 establishment of hotlines established between DGMOs of both countries. The growing India-China trade, in spite of the political differences, in spite of the differing perceptions on border or on global politics, what we see the positive side between both of countries is the increasing trade. What we see that the growing India-China trade. Student, as you know, in 2021 India-China bilateral trade reached to $114.263 American dollar, an increase of 46.4%. India's export to China reached to $26.358 billion, an increase of 38.5%. India's import from China amounted to $87.905 billion, an increase of 49%. The trade deficit was $61.547 billion, an increase of 53.49%. To minimize the trade deficit, what we see, India has to adopt the policy of vocal for local, because since India is a signatory of World Trade Organization, it cannot discriminate or put embargo upon Chinese goods. So this is the problem. So the deficit in India-China trade and the imbalance in favor of China is a very cause of concern for us. India exports iron ore, cotton, consumer goods, while Chinese export to India manufactured goods, electronic goods, chemicals used for pharmaceutical industries in India. And that's why the trade balance is in favor of China. This balance has to be corrected for the sake of our economy. Now against another point is that cautious approach of India towards dealing with China. As student, as you know, while dealing with China, the government and the people and the leaders are very much cautious in speaking anything about the Chinese government, because they think that any offending language must not hurt Chinese sentiment. So biggest agenda of the Indian government is to set amicably the differences on political levels, on borders level, or to bridge the differing perceptions regarding neighboring countries and global politics. What are the spots of territorial disputes? Now this one is the map, and you see that Kashmir administered by Pak. This one is area ceded by Pakistan to China, claimed by India. Area held by China, claimed by India. This is the part in the red color, disputed area. This one is the now disputed border. And then what you see, that Arunachal Pradesh largely claimed by China. McMahon Line is not being recognized by Chinese authorities. So what we see, that in 1662 war, the Aksai Chin area, which earlier was the part of the Jammu Kashmir territories held by Maharaja Hari Singh, so it was captured about 30 to 35,000 square kilometer, although most of the part are barren lands, but Aksai Chin area was captured by China in 1962, and similarly in 1948 1/3 of the portion of Jammu Kashmir was captured by Pakistan. Gilgit and Baltistan were also captured by Pakistan, and these areas are still under Pakistani territory, and this is the point of discord between India and Pakistan and between India and China. China also claimed large portion on over the Arunachal Pradesh. Earlier it was called NEFA, Northeastern Frontier Agency, and so these are certain spots that I have tried to show you. Next, the efforts of India. What are the efforts of government of India? Number one, internal balancing of its military from the Pakistan border to the China border. Number one. Number two, external rebalancing through the closer partnership with the US, because student, as you know that after the dissolution of Soviet Union, that superpower, its a superpower status now has been reduced. It is not in the position to mobilize the world opinion in its favor. Now we are living in the unipolar world headed by USA and other capitalist countries. So naturally, in order to control the designs of China or to balance the Chinese strength, India has to rebalance through a closer relationship with the US. Next, the formation of Quad to lessen the impact of China in a specific region, particularly Pacific region, not a specific region, Pacific region, प्रशांत महासागरीय क्षेत्र में. Friendship with Central Asian countries like Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan. All these countries were the part of the Soviet Union. Now you might have seen the Indian government convened the meeting of these states when the OIC had been discussing at Islamabad regarding the issue, Afghanistan issues, and so the Indian government by its diplomacy, by its influential diplomacy, these four countries came to India and discussed about the problems of Afghanistan and how the problem and the difficulties of Afghani people can be sorted out through humanitarian grounds. These issues were discussed at Delhi meeting. So, Indian government made a strong friendship with Central Asian countries like Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, Vietnam. This country had fight with China in 1979 and ultimately China had to go back because Vietnamese people could not be defeated by the People's Liberation Army. And similarly, India had also forged friendship or alliance with Japan, engagement with Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, Maldives, Israel are on the anvil. And Indian government has very much established a good rapport, an excellent rapport with these countries, so that the influence of China should be reduced in these countries. Next, a strengthening of air power. You see, estimate that Indian government purchased Rafale from France, S-400 from Russia. Building of intercontinental ballistic missiles Agni 5, which has range of 6,000 to 7,000 and which can hit even the Chinese capital Beijing. So this is the biggest achievement. These weapons were developed by India to deter, to have deterrent effect on Chinese hegemony, on the China-Pakistan axis. So, Government of India is increasing its air power, it increasing its naval power to strengthen its base in Indian Ocean, to make it a zone of peace, so that Chinese naval should not interfere in the littoral states of Indian Ocean. The way forward and solution. What are the solutions? Engagement with China continuously at diplomatic level. This is the sine qua non for the success of our diplomacy. Balancing act of India between Russia and USA. A strong presence of Indian Navy in the Indian Ocean, as I have already told you, and a strengthening of bilateral ties with littoral states, enhancing the economic power of India. Why? You see, in PPP model, India is the third largest economy. It has the economy of more than 11 trillion American dollar, while the Chinese economy in PPP model is more than 27 trillion dollar. Means Chinese economy in terms of PPP is 2.5 greater than that of the economy of India. In terms of nominal GDP, the Indian economy is $3 trillion and it is the fifth largest economy of the world, while the Chinese economy in terms of nominal GDP is $14.5 trillion American dollar. And so what you see, that it is 5 times or more than 4 times greater economy. So what we see, that India will have to enhance its economic power. As soon as you know that by 2030, Chinese economy will be the biggest economy of the world, even surpassing the USA economy. And by 2050, Indian economy will become the third largest economy of the world. So, what we see, that in order to face the Chinese hegemony, India will have to strengthen or enhance its economic power to match with the hegemony of China. Similarly, Communist Party rules over China. China has totalitarian state, while in India we have democratic setup. Every 5 years elections are held, opposition party and the ruling party fight with each other, and there is a smooth transition of power. As soon what is needed is that we must strengthen Indian democratic institutions and remove the primordial loyalty or lessen the degree of primordial loyalty like casteism, regionalism, communalism, linguism, jingoism. These isms are very much dangerous for our body politic, for the growth of our democratic setup. So, what is required is to strengthen the democratic setup where there is no discrimination between people and people on the basis of religion, caste, sex, birth, place of birth. So we must have to ensure that a society based upon equality is strengthened, so that the nationalism, the kind of nationalism among Indians should become more pronounced, and in case of challenge from the outside country, India must face as one nation. Again, strengthening of Indian bilateral relation with Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, Central Asian countries to check the expansion of China. So what is required is that India should focus upon amicable relation with its neighboring countries, with the littoral states of Indian Ocean, with the Southeast Asian countries, with the Arabian countries, and a strong ties with Israel and Western country, so that India should not be alone in case of a fight between China and India. So what is the conclusion? So student, China is a permanent threat to India. Indo-China War in 1962 and Indian defeat led to the loss of preeminence of India in Asia. Any display of weakness of India vis-a-vis China will cause immense damage to Indian reputation and will result into the loss of dominance in South and Southeast Asia. It will also have an impact of India's role in the world politics. So students, I am now concluding this lecture. I think that this lecture may have cleared your concept regarding Indo-Chinese relation, reconciliation and confrontation. If you like this lecture delivered by me, please share and subscribe. Just write down AJIS Academy on YouTube and subscribe. Open the playlist. You will find hundreds of videos covering different topics which are very much beneficial, helpful for the different competitive examination. Thank you very much.